Nobody talks about this one. So let's change that. There is a very personal battle that happens in extended seasons of waiting, one that most people are too embarrassed to name out loud: the battle against escape. Not escape in the dramatic, obvious sense, but the quiet kind. The kind that looks completely reasonable from the outside. A little too much scrolling because your thoughts are too loud. A situationship that doesn't honor God but at least makes you feel less alone. Numbing the ache with anything that makes the waiting feel less heavy for a few hours. Self control is one of the most underestimated expressions of the fruit of the Spirit. We tend to think of it primarily in terms of diet and discipline, but biblical self control is far more expansive than that. It is the capacity to remain governed by the Spirit rather than driven by desire, to pause before reacting, to choose what is formative over what is immediately relieving. And waiting is one of the most sustained tests of self control that there is, because waiting is uncomfortable. And discomfort creates desire for relief, for resolution, for anything that makes the in between feel less unbearable. The enemy knows this, and he positions himself right at the intersection of our discomfort and our desire with a simple, quiet offer. You've waited long enough. You deserve this, just this once. We see something similar to this in Ezra 9. The people of Israel have come through an extraordinarily long and painful season. Decades of exile, the loss of their homeland, their temple, their entire way of life. And then God moves and opens the door for them to return home. But going home doesn't mean the hard work is over. They return to rubble. They have to rebuild from the ground up. And that rebuilding is slow, it's costly, and it's exhausting. It's in the middle of that long, slow process that fatigue sets in. And that is where the compromise begins. Not out of open rebellion, but because they're tired. Because the work is long and the finish line keeps feeling further away. You've been at this long enough. Surely God understands. Just this once, just this one area. We don't see this directly in the text, but sounds familiar for me in my own life. This is the core lie the enemy uses against self-control and waiting, that relief is more urgent than obedience. And the dangerous thing about that lie is how reasonable it sounds when you're exhausted. Now, I want to be careful here because not every form of escape is sinful on its surface. God is not calling us to joyless, white-knuckled endurance, but there is a difference between rest that restores and numbing that delays. Rest brings you back to God feeling refreshed. Numbing keeps you away from God. Rest asks, what does my soul need right now? Numbing asks, what will make this feeling go away? Scripture calls us not to white-knuckle self-control through sheer willpower, but something more sustainable. Holiness, not as restriction, but as protection. As Paul writes in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 7, for God did not call us to be impure, but to live a holy life. Holy boundaries in a waiting season are not about punishing yourself. They're about guarding what God is forming in you. They create space for discomfort to do its work instead of being immediately medicated. The vessel that God is preparing, your character, your integrity, your capacity to steward what He is about to release, is being protected by every moment you choose formation over relief. God is not withholding from you to punish you. He is preparing you to carry what He is about to give without it breaking you.